Hey everybody, welcome to Video Game Esoteric, and our continuing series where I review every single Capcom CPS, CP System Dash, CPS2, and CPS3 game ever made, and today we're taking a look at Street Fighter Alpha 3. Now I already reviewed this game on my CPS2 hardware series about 2 years ago, but I absolutely love it so much we're just going to be revisiting it entirely again, because of the 3 Alpha releases, I prefer 3 over the rest. Before we get too far in loud though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down there as well. But right off the top, the roster of Alpha 3 is obviously going to be the largest of any of the Alpha games, and that's because it comes last. And while some people do say that 2 is better than 3, I just love the increased roster. But you're going to see we have different ISM modes here, and that's going to change the combo and control system between the Alpha series, things that were more common in Street Fighter 2, and we're also going to get a normal or a turbo mode. So right off the top, there's a lot of different ways you can play this game. I prefer the A-ism for Alpha because I enjoy Street Fighter Alpha, the moveset and kind of the control scheme, over Street Fighter 2, which has never been a franchise that I've loved as far as Street Fighter is concerned. But right off the top, Alpha 3 just looks absolutely incredible. All the screen transitions, all the visuals, the music, everything about this game outside of the fighting mechanics themselves is just sheer Capcom perfection. And you'll see there the first match is a little unexciting. I was just kind of sticking and poking, and that is totally an option in Street Fighter 3. You can pull off a lot of insane combos, but you don't have to just be a combo or a special move player here. For some strange reason though, I have noticed that the AI in Alpha 3 doesn't really like to give you that much, and that's why I wasn't using the specials. It kind of just blocks and walks itself into a corner. So this is definitely a game that is much more increased by playing with another human being. The AI in this is either incredibly easy because it's set at normal, or once you get into the harder levels, it just predicts absolutely everything possible that you can do and has a counter for it. But again, fighting Saddam here, or Saddam, I don't know why I said Saddam, I knew that was wrong. I just love the artwork in the background. You have this open air area, and you can see the city skyline in the back, that purple when it comes to knockout, and it's a perfect. Everything about this game is just style turned up to 11, and Capcom games always looked great, but I would say that Street Fighter Alpha 3 is the best looking pure 2D arcade game that they ever made. Even the transitions between one match to another, it's just so hyper stylized. The character portraits look great. All the colors are vibrant and awesome to look at. This game just visually does it for me, and that's probably half the reason why I prefer this to the rest of the Street Fighter Alpha series, because as much as I appreciate the fighting game mechanics and what they're doing with it, I love looking at things that are appealing to the eye. That's my fine art background and degree talking, but I need the mechanics to be married to a really interesting visual style. And when I did the review for Street Fighter Alpha, I said mechanically that game was awesome, but a lot of the background just lacked a lot of inspiration, and we do not have that situation with Alpha 3 here. But you'll see then just fighting, you know, we're up against Jen here. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. I'm terrible at pronunciations. If you've been following the channel, you'll know that's true. But again, it's just a really fun game, but unfortunately the AI is not doing a ton. I would say the AI in Alpha 2 gives you a little bit more, but I was able to show you guys there, you know, more of a super move to finish off the match. But Blanca coming in here, strangely with the watermelons, everything looks different. This is the type of game that I just want to continually stare at and play. And like I said, there's a ton of ways to play this game. I'm playing it on the MiSTer FPGA with the Jotego cores, and it plays identical to my original B board, because I do have the original B board for this game. Some games use a Darksoft Multi, but some I do buy original cartridges for because I love them so much, and Alpha 3 is one of them. It's available on the PlayStation 2 for the Street Fighter Anthology, but I don't recommend that version because it feels really laggy with control input compared to the MiSTer, where there is very little to no lag that is going to be perceivable in your gameplay. But as good as this game looks, it also sounds incredible. So right after this story sequence, I'll let you listen to it. I do appreciate that you do get a little bit of story in the game just to kind of mix things up. You just get a little bit of flavor text depending on what character you're playing as and who they're fighting against. But enjoy the soundtrack for like 45 seconds, and I'll come back and tell you more why Alpha 3 is better than Alpha 2. But enjoy.
Go for it, man!
I swear Capcom was just at their best when they were making Street Fighter Alpha 3. All the music's incredible, the colors, the backgrounds, everything about this game is just developers doing everything they can to make it the total package. But speaking of total packages, I know this is a Capcom CPS 2 review series, but if you have a Sega Naomi, or you can get access to one, this game did come out later after all the home console ports as Street Fighter 03 Upper. And what that is, it's a Sega Naomi exclusive version of Alpha 3. They call it 03 in Japan, and that is all the additional characters from the home ports and some other changes to the game. You can even take your VMU unit from Dreamcast and save things from the arcade. I have played it on my Naomi NetBoot, and it is absolutely incredible. I would say that I like it ever so slightly more than the CPS2 version just because it's giving you extra things, but it's probably one of the harder versions to play because you either have to emulate Naomi games, which can be a little bit difficult, and they do like to hitch sometimes, which makes it hard to play, or you have to have an original Naomi arcade JVS setup, which I do have. So you're definitely not going to go wrong with the CPS2 version. Obviously, it's the original way to play the game, but there are other arcade versions out there that are definitely worth checking out. I was going to put some footage of the Naomi version in here, but it didn't feel that fair for a CPS2 review series. But again, fighting Chun-Li here, I just can't say enough about how beautiful this game looks and how many things it's pushing around at once. You have probably 20 different Tai Chi participants. I think they're doing Tai Chi, that's what it looks like to me. You have a guy in the background, you have these gigantic background layers that are all independently moving, and you have two sprites that are fighting in the front of the screen, and everything's running absolutely perfectly at 60 frames a second. The CPS2 is really powerful hardware, and if you release this game today and just made it widescreen, it would look absolutely perfect in a modern environment. And these games have aged really gracefully compared to a lot of the 3D stuff from the mid to late 90s in arcades. You go back to those and they definitely feel like they are much older versus something like this, which looks like you could have released it in 2021 and people would have said it looks absolutely amazing. But we're fighting Guy here from the Final Fight series. Obviously he's made it over to Street Fighter, but I love how they put all the different characters in the background as well. You got Hagar back there. They definitely should have included him in my opinion, but hey, Mike Hagar can't be in every game even if I wish he was. But there's so much to love about Street Fighter Alpha 3 and the entire Street Fighter Alpha series. After this, they go to Street Fighter 3 on the CPS3, and that's a lot of fun, but I still prefer Alpha over anything else. And I really do wish that Capcom would make a Street Fighter Alpha 4. I get it, they've gone 3D now with Street Fighter 4 and 5, even if it still takes place on the 2D plane. But getting a pure pixel art 2D Street Fighter Alpha in 2021 or 2022 in 1080p or 4K would look spectacular. And I wish they would do that with the Alpha series, because this was one that I know it's not the favorite of a ton of people, but for people that really like Alpha, they love it probably more than any of the other entries in the Street Fighter series, and I just wish that Capcom would revisit this one. I don't ever expect them to. I'm sure the next Street Fighter game we get will be Street Fighter 6 or Ultra Turbo Supreme Street Fighter 5, who knows, you know, at this point in time what naming conventions they're going to choose next. And it's a little different with the arcade games versus the home console games. You know, back in arcade days, Capcom would make updates to these boards and they would sell them to arcade vendors, and you just walked into an arcade and you popped some quarters in and played the new version. But now with the console versions of Street Fighter 4 and 5, it feels like they're constantly asking you to buy more add-ons, buy a new version of the game. You know, when the original Street Fighter 4 came out, by the time they were done with that, they were on like the 4th disc that they were going to sell you, and I don't really want to pay $240 to have every Street Fighter game new on consoles. So it's a little bit of a bummer that happens, but I guess that's a little bit off the review path anyway. But yeah, that's Street Fighter Alpha 3. It's hands down my favorite in the series. It's fun to play, it's great to look at, and the soundtrack is absolutely perfect in my opinion. But if you have any questions or comments, so leave them down below. I'd love to hear what your guys' favorite Street Fighter game is, because I'm sure a lot of people are going to go to Street Fighter 2, which is my least favorite. Short of that, I will be back next Wednesday with an episode in the CPS2 review series. But like I mentioned earlier, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, that notification bell definitely helps us out. But yeah, if you've never played Street Fighter Alpha, definitely in my opinion, start with 3. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.